The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
And you're going to love it.
Okay, let's go.
Happy Friday, everybody. And oh my God, I know I say this practically every week, but I can't believe it's Friday already. Good Lord. Another week in the books. Anyway, I've got an update from yesterday to Gladiator Helmet Gate, we'll call it. So I woke up this morning I woke up yesterday morning to a text. By the way, I told you guys I love waking up to text messages from friends from the East Coast and the Midwest. And it was from my good friend Len Spacek, whom you may recall was the highlight of episode number 31. Len and I went to high school together, and it's awesome being in touch. We've actually stayed in touch since high school, but we've really got back in much better touch, and I'll tell you a couple reasons why. And I woke up to a text from him and said, dude, I would have taken the Gladiator helmet. What were you thinking? So I wrote him back. I said, do you want it? I don't think my recycling has come yet. Seriously, I could go probably grab it and ship it to you. Yes, it will be my Halloween costume this year. Therefore, I went out to my recycle bin and I fished out the Gladiator helmet and the sword, actually, and they are on the cover art for this episode. So if you take a look at today's cover art for the episode, that is the helmet and the sword. And my man, Len, is going to wear that for his Halloween costume this year. So I'm going to ship it to him. And then we talked later yesterday, and he's such a gentleman that he was like, dude, if you want to keep it, I totally understand. Don't worry about it. Or actually, he said, I know you're trying to kind of embrace simplicity like the episode, so I understand if, you do want to get rid of it. And I said, you know what? The joy that I get knowing that you will enjoy that and knowing that you will wear that for Halloween. By the way, I hope it fits on his head. Lenny's got a good size. He's got a good size melon on him, but I think it'll fit. But I told him, I said, the joy that honestly I will get from you enjoying that is much more important to me than embracing the simplicity. And then he's like, it's going to cost you $100 to ship it to me. And I said, I don't care. It's worth it. That joy that I'm going to get from you enjoying it is absolutely worth it. So there you have it, a little update to Gladiator Helmet Gate. It is going to have a new home. And by the way, I have not given shout outs in a long time. So I wanted to give Len a shout out. And if any of you have kids that, boys or girls actually, that are into sports, Len wrote an amazing book. He's actually published a couple books, but this one is called Game On. It's 9 sports short stories, and they are really, really good. And if any of you have kids that are into sports, I think they will absolutely love this book. You can find it on Amazon. It's on Kindle as well, and then also through Google Books and a variety of other places. The book, again, is called Game On, and then it is written by Len Spacek, Lenspacek. I'll put a link to the Amazon listing in the show notes so you can get it there. But anyway, if you want your kid to read a incredibly meaningful book that really teaches life lessons through sports, this is an awesome book. I highly, highly recommend it. And speaking of that, he has helped me a lot on my book, and man, I'm gonna pay it forward because Len paid it forward with me. So if any of you are aspiring novelists out there and you end up wanting to write a book, definitely reach out to me. Actually, me and Len will help you. But this process, it's been interesting. I did not think the self-publishing concept, or the self-publishing process, I should say, would be this cumbersome. And it is. It's amazing. Like, it is really, it's very technical. It's very technical, from, figuring out all the nuts and bolts to getting your book. It's not just as easy as, quote unquote, putting it on Amazon. There's a lot more to it. And then especially when it comes to the formatting, so you get it to load up properly within the different settings. And again, it's not just Amazon. There's another platform called Ingram Spark that then distributes to a lot of the bookstores and libraries out there. So it's been pretty eye-opening. It's been a pretty eye-opening experience at how technical the process of bringing a book to market is. Not to mention, holy mackerel, the concept of not having mistakes, like proofreading it and proofreading it and proofreading it. And then it's funny, I Googled some articles and it said pretty much every book in publication has mistakes. So that's funny. Think about that. Every book in publication, even the big boys like the Random House and Penguin and Putnam and all the major publishers who publish books for, whomever, Obama's book for that matter, or any book, any best-selling book. It's funny. They all seem to have one or two mistakes in there. So anyway, pretty interesting process. I have leveraged a lot of really cool AI technologies to proofread things, and I'm going to share those in a subsequent episode. But regardless, wanted to kind of update you on that. And then let's talk a couple things in terms of, actually, I did want to say one other thing. Honestly, this concept of small joys and like small wins in not only in life, but in the course of your day, I'm a huge proponent of that. I really am. And I love the small joys and I love the small wins. And, I'll tell you one for myself that it's in the book, but I won't read you the passage. I'll just tell it to you. But, small joy for me, and I really start the day off with two of them. One is I absolutely make my bed every day. I think actually most people make their bed these days. But, there's just something about making your bed in the morning, whether it's that sense of accomplishment or starting the day off by accomplishing something and setting the tone. But yeah, I really think making your bed in the morning is important. And it's funny, I'll tell you the small joy that brings me is if I'm working from home through the course of the day and I've got to go upstairs to my bedroom for something, it's nice walking in your bedroom and it looks all tidy and it looks all nice. I like that. That's a small joy. But the bigger small joy for me is, so I set my coffee machine on the timer to basically start brewing coffee at 6:30 every morning. And so when I walk down the stairs, another small joy that I start my day off with is the entire house smells like coffee, and it's really nice. I love that. Like, I love walking or coming down the stairs and kind of getting that aroma of coffee. And then that first cup, I don't know, I just love it. I really do. Like, I really love having that first cup of coffee every morning. And, I consider that a small joy. And it's really nice to start off the day like that. So anyway, that's another topic that I really cover in the book quite a bit in terms of starting off the day with, a little victory, a small joy, something like that, and then looking for, the continuation of those throughout the day. I really think that those little small joys and small wins end up having a cumulative effect, and they really do add up, and it makes an impact. So anyway, small joys. There we go. There's another little tidbit for you. All right. So now I do want to talk a couple things in terms of, what's taken place over the past several days. I've kind of stepped out of the mix a little bit in terms of really what's been going on in the world. And, I will say honestly, I kind of needed a break too. And I think I think being put in Instagram jail kind of was a not self-imposed, but a imposed break for me. And I was talking to Len about this, and I've actually talked to a few other people about this. I get it that the stuff with Gaza, it's heavy. It's heavy. It really is. I understand that. And, you know, I get it. I get it. It's very heavy. I've had other friends tell me, they're like, dude, I love it. I love that you're kind of my only source of information for that stuff. And I know it's important, but it's heavy. Cause I have asked people, I said, is it too much? And I think I asked you guys back during the 9-part series, should I move on? Should I move on to other things? And so I get that. I really do. I get it. The only thing I'll say at the same time is, it is a big deal. It is a big deal. And, I think we are just so wrapped up in our own lives. And, this potentially is a little bit on a global basis, but I will say that I do think people in other countries, I've got cousins in Switzerland and Austria and South Africa and England, and those guys are all a little more well versed, maybe not than me. Sorry about that, cousins. But overall, I think people in Europe and other countries, especially African countries, man, those guys know what's up and they know what's going on a global geopolitical scale. And we don't really in the United States. And I think that's all because, honestly, life in the United States, for the most part, pretty much for all of our lifetimes, if you're a Gen Xer, you've pretty much had a good life. There hasn't been stress and strain, and there hasn't been major conflict. Yeah, there's been a flare up here and there in the Middle East, and maybe, a few things, going on in other countries, but nothing to really affect our lives. I think the only thing that finally affected everybody's life was March 2020 and COVID. And that's what launched me into all this stuff. How crazy is that? The first thing that actually affected my life and my freedom was what propelled me to be like, wait a minute. Okay. Wow. I never thought this could happen. Not in the United States. I never thought this could happen. I never even thought about thinking something like that could happen because we've never experienced that in our lifetimes. But people that have grown up in other countries where, there is more, I guess, government intervention. And I don't mean that in a negative way. That's calling a spade a spade. There is, those countries, they're used to a little bit of a tougher go, a little bit of a tougher go. And so anyway, with the Gaza stuff and really with everything in terms of keeping up on the current news and all that, I do understand sometimes that issue in particular. I get that it's heavy. I get that it's a lot. I guess I would just ask you to, again, do a little role reversal and put yourself or put your family in those people's shoes. And I think when you do that, it really brings one of the DSD pillars that I'm going to start talking about more really into light. And that pillar is empathy. You really become one with empathy when you start doing this concept of role reversal. And, when you see, even if you don't want to watch everything, when you see one thing and you see, let's say, a child that is just standing in a pile of rubble. Imagine if that was your kid. Seriously, imagine if that was your kid and how that would feel. So anyway, I get it. That stuff is heavy. I did want to cover one thing in regards to that stuff. But again, as I've committed moving forward, we're really going to really going to bring so much more to this than just the all heavy stuff. But I did want to share what took place in terms of the bombing of the humanitarian food aid workers.
The World Central Kitchen is pausing its Gaza operations after 7 of its workers were killed in an airstrike, leaving even fewer options for Palestinians on the brink of famine. They had just finished unloading 100 tons of food at a warehouse in central Gaza when the group says their cars were hit by an Israeli strike. Here's what the Israeli Prime Minister had to say.
So basically, the humanitarian workers were in their aid truck, and long story short, an Israeli missile blew the truck up. And I mean, it's just inexcusable. It's inexcusable. I'm not going to play for you all the apologies and all the stuff from, Netanyahu and then Antony Blinken and all this stuff. But all I'm going to say is it's absolutely inexcusable. Nothing like that happens on accident. You don't target a humanitarian aid truck that is clearly marked. And again, this is with missiles. This is with pinpoint missiles. It reminds me actually of really the WikiLeaks situation that basically launched WikiLeaks, but it also started the beginning of the end for Julian Assange, where it was an Iraqi civilians, and this time it was the U.S., and it was some U.S. military guys, and they basically just said, light them up, and they lit them up, and they knew they were civilians, but they did it anyway. And so, that's the situation with this humanitarian food aid car. And, it's just another, I guess, case of, Netanyahu just absolutely doing whatever he wants. Anyway, I'm not going to harp on that stuff too much, but I am going to say, I do think Ramadan is about 5 days until it ends. Remember, Ramadan is the big Islamic religious holiday. It's been going on for a month now, and everybody fasts during the day. I think this thing's coming to a head. It's coming to a head. Some crazy stuff is going to happen, and then who knows? Maybe this is the end, and maybe there's going to be a swan song for Netanyahu. They're gonna put him out to pasture. I don't think they're going to do it in a bad way, but he's going to ride off into the sunset, and who knows? Maybe this thing will come to the end. At this point, I think that's all anybody wants, is just for the innocent people. I mean, they're on the brink of famine. 1.5 million people on the brink of famine. Like, that's just insane. That's insane that this is playing out in front of our eyes. All right. Anyway, I did want to talk about one more thing, which I talked about, I believe, on Monday or Tuesday. And I just wanted to touch on it a little more, and then we'll wrap it up for this week. But, it was the whole transgender day, what was it? Oh, God, I'm blanking on what it was. Anyway, what coincided with Easter on Sunday. Again, like I said, I did a little more research in that, and, that was the date for the previous transgender days, but they have enough advanced planning with this. Easter is a holiday that does change every year, so I believe it's on either the first or second Sunday after the first full moon or something like that. I might have gotten that completely wrong, but anyway, it's not a set day like Thanksgiving is or Christmas is. It moves around a little bit. But I still think they could have planned that better, just to not cause that division. I mean, people were really bothered by that. The people that, the Christians that celebrate Easter. So again, that stuff can be avoided. And when it's not avoided, it makes me think, okay, why did they not avoid that? That seems like a pretty easy thing to do. Transgender Visibility Day, that's what it was. That could have been on Monday. I don't think the transgender community would have minded, and they wouldn't have had to share it with Easter for their sake. So they probably would have been even happier. So anyway, that stuff, again, just like the bombing of this food truck, it is not unintentional. It absolutely is not unintentional. So, all right. Lastly, this women's college basketball is fun. Caitlin Clark, she's enjoyable to watch. She really is. And so is LSU. I did like watching LSU as well. You know, the funny thing about Caitlin Clark is, so there's so much talk about, oh, she's going to sign with Ice Cube's league in the Big Three. I think he put out a big offer to her. And then people are like, well, why can't she, she could make an NBA team and all that. And I don't really think she could. And then here's the thing. This is, this same discussion comes up with Serena Williams. And, again, I think it's discussions that should be closed out, and they can be closed out by simply, the Serena situation. I mean, Serena's an incredible tennis player. She is absolutely unbelievable, but can she beat the 100th ranked men's tennis player? Well, they should play, have a match and let's see what happens. I think Serena went on maybe it was years back on David Letterman, or maybe it was on Jimmy Kimmel or something. I think she even went back and was like, no, I can't beat the 100th best men's player. He would smoke me. So, maybe that's why those aren't happening. And again, this has got nothing to do with sexism or anything like that. I mean, it just is what it is. It's calling a spade when it comes to athletics. It is what it is. But it's another situation where there's just unnecessary arguing. We could end the discussion once and for all by, Caitlin Clark should play in a big three game or two. Let's see how she does. Give her a practice on an NBA. Let her play in the D League for a couple months. Let's see how she does. So anyway, oh man, I think all this stuff, people like talking smack so much. Maybe they don't want the reality of it to happen, because then they wouldn't have anything to talk smack about. All right, that is it for today. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Keep calling that spade a spade, and we'll catch up with you soon.
The ending was terrific.
This episode is being brought to you by the upcoming book, Deep Shallow Dive Into You. That's right, Bro wrote a book, and it's coming soon. Stay tuned.